Do you know the difference between the Olympics, Paralympics, and Special Olympics? It's okay if you don't. This is a safe space. The Paralympics are the third largest sporting event in the entire world, and yet most people aren't exactly sure what the Paralympics are. Hi, I'm Kendall, your travel accessibility advisor, and in this video I'm going to teach you the difference between the Paralympics, Olympics, and Special Olympics. As a former adaptive athlete who was a 3-time high school All-American competing in state, national, and international championships, I know a thing or two when it comes to the Paralympics. Oh, and by the way, did I mention that my events were in the seated throws and that I was competing alongside Paralympians? Just a fun tidbit. Let's get into everything you need to know before you watch the Paralympics. The Paralympic symbol, called the Agitos, meaning I move in Latin, is a reference to the Paralympic movement, the excellence of the Paralympic athlete, and the inspiration that they inspire to audiences around the world. A para-athlete is an athlete with a physical, visual, or intellectual disability. When the Olympic closing ceremony is to an end, a couple weeks later, the Paralympic ceremony starts to open. The games, both the Olympic and Paralympic games, are held in the same host city. The Paralympics are defined by the International Paralympic Committee as the pinnacle global sporting event for para-athletes, showcasing the very best of para-sport and providing optimal conditions for a diverse group of Paralympic athletes to achieve excellence in their event. It is considered the Olympic equivalent to athletes with a disability. In the 2026 Paralympic Winter Games in Milan and Cortina are said to have around 665 para-athletes coming from approximately 50 countries or territories, and there is set to be 79 medaling events. So I'm excited. The Paralympics also have their own mascot, which is often a variation of the Olympic mascot, although the Paralympic mascot often represents the para-athlete. This Paralympic mascot will also be a strout, like its Olympic counterpart, but the biggest difference is that this mascot will be missing a paw, an homage to some of the amputee Paralympic athletes that you will be seeing in these games. The Paralympics and the Olympics are not the same. They have their own distinct rules and their own separate governing bodies. The Special Olympics is focused on athletes' personal achievement, and it does not exclude any athlete based upon qualifying scores, but rather divides the athletes based on those scores for fair competition against others of like cognitive ability. Whereas with the Paralympics, athletes must have a classifiable disability that falls under a physical, visual, or intellectual impairment. The Special Olympics is only for individuals who have cognitive disabilities. And for the Paralympics, athletes go through a strict qualification process and meet certain standards based on the sport and classification, resulting in the highest performing athlete and the most elite of them moving on to the Paralympics. A classifiable disability is a fancy way of saying a disability that falls underneath the categories of physical, visual, or intellectual disabilities. An athlete's disability is under review of different doctors, specialists, physical therapists, and what they do is they observe the athlete, ask the athlete to do certain tasks, and then they observe the athlete in their sport, and then they make a decision on whether or not an athlete has an eligible disability, and then they make the decision that if they do have an eligible disability, what type of class group should that athlete be in. Athlete goes into a specific class group of people that have the same or similar disability to them. Think of it like boxing. You wouldn't have a heavyweight with a lightweight, you would have a lightweight fight a lightweight, and you would have a heavyweight fight a heavyweight. And so that's what classifications are. Their intent is to allow the athlete to compete against other athletes that have the same or similar disability to them. And the crucial part, the disability needs to be permanent. These concepts are complex, and that's why I created a PDF file down in the description box below that contains a glossary and additional notes, and you can refer to it while watching this video or while watching the Paralympics. If you have any questions regarding the Paralympics or adaptive sports, leave it down in the comment sections below and I'll do my best to answer them. An athlete's classification number is represented by a capital letter and a number. The capital letter tells the athlete's sport, and the letter indicates their disability and the severity of their disability in relation to their sport. Generally, athletes with a lower number indicate a higher impairment, and athletes with a higher number indicate a impairment that is less severe in relation to their sport. And so, for example, I was an F33 athlete. The F stood for field, as in track and field, and the 33 meant that I had cerebral palsy. And it also meant that I was on the more severe side in terms of it being in relation to my sport. And so, as a 33 athlete, all of the more severe athletes, that was 34 and below numbers, they competed from a seated position. So I competed from a seated position as well, versus athletes in the 30s that had higher numbers, like 37, 38. Those compete in a standing position. You will not see athletes with a completely separate disability competing against each other. Rather, you're going to see athletes with a similar or the exact same disability compete against each other, with the idea that this would be the most fair. But to make things more complicated, classifications are not the same across sports. For example, World Para-Athletics literally has dozens of classifications related to athletes with a physical disability. Additionally, some sports only allow for a certain type of classification to participate. For example, in wheelchair curling, athletes must have an impairment in their legs in order to compete in the sport. To summarize, the Paralympics occur every 2 years and a few weeks after the Olympics. The Paralympics are an international multi-day sport featuring Paralympians who are elite athletes in their respective sports, performing at the highest ability in their classification. Paralympians have a classification that has a letter and a number indicating their sport, disability, and level of impairment. Paralympians compete with other Paralympic athletes who have the same or similar classification to them. The 2026 Winter Paralympics will be hosted in Milan and Cortina, Italy, and they will air starting March 6th through the 15th. In the US, they will be broadcasted by NBC Universal, and they will be streaming on Peacock. The last Paralympics was in Paris, France, and it was broadcasted to over 160 countries and territories. So use your search engine to determine where the Paralympics will be broadcasted or streamed in your home country. The upcoming Paralympics will have an opening and closing ceremony and will feature the events of para-alpine skiing, para-Nordic skiing, featuring both the biathlon and cross-country versions, para-snowboarding, para-ice hockey, and wheelchair curling. Remember, if you have a question, please leave it down in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer it. Hit that like and subscribe button if you've learned something new. And I will also be doing a series on the Paralympics, as the next Paralympics will be in 2028 in Los Angeles, my hometown. Anyways, I hope to see you soon, but until next time, enjoy your journey, traveler.